let's talk about how you can sell more of whatever you offer using the psychology behind why people buy what they buy. My name is Kate Putnam. I'm the psychology-driven brand strategist. Thank you for being here. Your time is valuable. Let's jump right in. I've been hearing from students in my Brand Clarity Collective mastermind that they want to sell more. Things are feeling tighter, things are feeling less flowy and full of ease. They want to double down on generating more leads, more sales. As a brand strategist, sometimes I take for granted that everybody has a good offer to sell. I often say that we all have a unique set of skills and genius that we offer to the world, and this is absolutely true, but we need to make sure that we are selling and marketing ourselves in a way that speaks to the psychology and is in alignment with the psychology of the people that we are trying to reach, so that we don't feel like we're running up against a brick wall when we're trying to sell whatever it is that we sell. First aspect to understand is that humans are constantly motivated by two things. We are either moving away from pain or we are moving towards pleasure. The one that motivates us faster is to move away from pain. So when we're thinking about our offer on a very high level, we need to understand with great detail the pain that we are helping people avoid or to escape, and the pleasure or the transformation that they desire on the other side. If we are ambiguous or generic in these two aspects, either in our offer's promise or in the messaging that we're using to sell our offer, whether that's spoken like in a sales call or on social media in content marketing, our offer is going to fall flat. We need to be speaking to the exact situation and the perspective that our ideal client is in right now. Yes, people might know that something is good to do or that they should be doing something, but they are acutely aware, or we want to find those people that are acutely aware of their current situation and fitting our offer into that narrative. For example, as a brand strategist, I can talk about how it's good to have a great brand. You want people to remember you. You want to stand out in the market. But the pain that I'm actually solving is the one that we're talking about in this very video. How do we sell more? How do we become more successful? How do we catch the attention of our ideal client so they are ready and willing and excited to give us their money in exchange for whatever we are offering them? How do we make that magic happen? And if I only talked about, how it's nice to have a pretty color palette and a nice logo, not only is that wildly insufficient, it is also very flat messaging, because that's not what my ideal client is concerned with. My ideal client is concerned with how do I make more sales? How do I do that in a way that feels really good to me? Pain and pleasure. So with that in mind, no matter what your product or service or offer is, we have a choice when it comes to the type of client that we want to sell and the exact version of that genius skill set or product that we are going to sell. And what we're looking for is an audience who already knows that they want our thing. Never want to be in the space where we're trying to convince or we need to educate people that they need to buy what we offer. Leave that to the people with the billion-dollar budgets. For us smaller businesses, it's really important to be in alignment with current market desires. Along those same lines, there's a scale of acuteness and a scale of awareness for each potential client that we could serve. To make this more clear, whenever you are assessing who you want to sell your offer to, I want you to look at three things. Two of them we already just mentioned. One of them is, are they aware? Do they know that they have this problem and they know that they want somebody like you or somebody who does something like what you do to solve it? Is their problem acute? Is it something that is just nagging or a nice to have, or is it something that they are very motivated, whether by pain or pleasure, to solve right now? The final factor that we want to look at our ideal audience is on the potential ROI. Now this gets tricky if we're talking about selling like art or jewelry, but not really. Let's work through what return on investment means to different people. First of all, return on investment, the level of investment is going to have different levels of sensitivity based on the wealth or the resources of the ideal client. So if you are selling jewelry or art, it would make sense for you to go after a more affluent client, because that return on investment, that return on resources only needs to play a small part or have a smaller benefit for that person. I know this is going to make some people uncomfortable because we want to help everybody. We want to help the people who perhaps even need our services or our offers or our products the most. They're really high on the awareness and that acuteness scale. But if they don't also have the return on investment equation tilted in our favor, we can be swimming upstream. An easier way to look at this is in the business world. If I'm focused on building brands and websites and strategies for businesses that only have the potential to perhaps bring in a few $100s of revenue a month, maybe it's a small Etsy shop, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But if that business only is ever going to generate, say, $500 a month or $1,000 a month, spending $10,000 on a brand may or may not be the easiest pill to swallow. It makes more sense for me to have different levels of offers for different clients like I do, and then also to focus on the types of businesses that have the potential to make much more. You get to choose where on this scale you're comfortable with operating. The most important thing is that you're not operating at the very bottom. We don't want to be stuck competing on price, only earning the business of extremely price sensitive customers, because it means that our margins are going to be really low. And as a small business with really small margins, any small disruption in the market or in our supply chain or anything like that is going to completely destroy our business. And if we truly are moving into a time in the market that is more recessionary in nature, you may want to take a new look at this equation. Is there something that you can offer that is more valuable, or can you seek out a type of client that values what you sell even more than your current average client? Can you shift what you're selling to sell a solution to a more acute, painful problem that people are naturally more motivated to solve and to spend money on? Or is there a way to perhaps lower the investment that somebody has to put into your product or service so the return on investment equation balances out when people are feeling more tight or constricted with their spending? The whole benefit of building a brand is that we want to lead the market. We want to earn a price premium in relation to our competitors. So remember, you are in business to make a living. You deserve to be able to put food on the table. And making some of these decisions about who most needs your help is not selfish. It means that you're helping the people who need you the most. All of this to say, what is the most valuable problem that you can solve, and who desires that solution the most? If you aren't sure of any of these aspects that I've been speaking about so far, so like what people desire, what their pain points are, who is aware of the problem, who has the most acute version of this problem or situation, make it a goal of yours to have as many in-person or like voice conversations as possible, and or listen in to as many voice conversations as possible. There is so much nuance and story that is dropped in, say, like podcast interviews, a sales call, or even just a networking conversation that gives us powerful insight. So much more than trying to read between the lines of, say, like a survey or a forum, although those can also help fill in some of the gaps. The second piece of this psychology of selling is to focus on the memory piece. So what is the actual trigger moment or catalyst that reminds people that it's time to buy what you sell? KitKat famously did this many years ago when they had a marketing campaign where they were continually reiterating the message, Kit Kats with your coffee. Now, this isn't the case anymore, but it's a powerful example of creating a trigger for somebody to know when it's time to consume or buy your thing. I will often talk about a few different elements in my own marketing. One of them is the existential identity crisis. Who am I? What am I selling? How am I putting myself out in the world? I don't have clarity. So that word clarity in itself is a trigger for myself and my brand. That identity crisis Also, just the act of rebranding. So when somebody thinks about rebranding, I want them to think about my business and coming back to brand strategy and approaching it from a psychology-driven perspective, so they're not having to rebrand again in another 6 months because they didn't do it from a strong foundation. So what are those situations or triggers or words for you that lets people know that it's time to buy? This also makes you much more referable, meaning if a specific word is associated with your business or a specific situation is associated with your business as one that you solve, your peers or clients, they know when to send people your way. So if somebody needs a webinar, they know to go to you then. Or if somebody is dealing with a chronic pet health condition, then they should go to my dear client, Susan Johnson, and get her help with nutrition and whole pet health. When should somebody hire you? This goes back to those pain points that we talked about in our first section. What are people actually experiencing right now or desiring right now that your offer meshes up with, that is the answer to? By this point, now that we've gotten through those 2 phases of the psychology of selling more, it's time to start layering in some more of the psychological factors that are going to influence people to make a decision now versus later. And the first one is to offer abundant proof. Proof can come in a lot of different forms, and we should share it often and repeatedly. So case studies, stories of previous clients or customers, statistics that you can point to, examples of your work, stories upon stories upon stories of the results, the actual pain that somebody escaped and the pleasure that they replaced it with as a result of using your product or service. Proof, proof, proof. Along these lines, there is also some implied proof or credibility that can be earned. This is one of the ways that our brand actually increases sales. So when we have a brand that is resonating with our ideal client, that it looks like it was thoughtful and intentional and put together, our client is more inclined to trust us because we've put this care and intention into our own business experience and the experience that they're having with our brand. And this conveys a sense of intentionality and quality that isn't there if you're simply slapping things together in a haphazard way. Proof can also come from your own story, using yourself as a case study in your business. How has your own life improved by whatever you're teaching or selling or offering? Second layer in this third category is to articulate the comparison equation that's going on in your ideal clients' minds. People are constantly arguing in favor of doing nothing. So make sure that you're speaking to the opportunity cost that happens when people decide not to take in action, not to make a decision. What are they missing out on? Build up that FOMO and help them understand that their inaction is actually a decision that is costing them. Also, compare your offer, your product, service, whatever it is, to other options in the market. I'm a brand strategist. People have the opportunity to buy from me. They could buy from a simple website designer. They could hire a business coach. They could hire a copywriter. So you need to argue not only for your specific offer or service, but you need to argue and make the case for your entire category. I was listening to a podcast where Dean Graziosi was on the Chris Harder podcast, and he was doing this beautifully. He was selling his 5-day challenge that's coming up with Tony Robbins, and he was talking at length to what an amazing opportunity it is to sell your knowledge, to sell information products, the low margins, the high profit, the fact that you can do this no matter where you're at, so on and so forth. So how can you actually argue for your category or argue for your industry and make comparisons against other options that somebody might be considering taking, or even the option of doing nothing? Third layer is to create urgency. Why should somebody take action right now? Again, people are biased towards saving energy, conserving energy, so we won't take the risk. We won't put ourselves out there and risk losing money into an investment or into a purchase unless the reasons are stacked to do so. What other reasons can you give people to take action right now? Can you offer a special bonus? Can you add in some additional benefit? Can you bundle a few different offers together for a short period of time? We want to create special campaigns again and again that give people new reasons to jump into an offer. We don't want it to be available all of the time in the same format because people will procrastinate. They'll push it off till later. They don't want to take the risk now if they don't have to. So create reasons for people to take action now. And then our fourth layer to build in some more psychological reasons for people to buy whatever we're selling is to handle objections in advance. One of the most common objections that people have is like, this might work for other people. Clearly it's worked for you. However, I don't think that it's going to work for me. Reduce the need for prerequisites or a specific type of personality or a specific schedule if that's not a factor that determines success for your clients. How can you show your ideal client that your offer is in fact for them? How can you show examples of other people who have been in their shoes exactly, and to show them what's possible on the other side? Another objection is, I don't know if I have time. So how can you be very clear and pragmatic and paint the picture of what exactly is going to happen after somebody buys your product or your service? Clearly, another one is, I can't afford this, I don't have the money. So in the business world, this is relatively easy. We need to show how this is a valuable investment that's going to reap rewards into the future. In other spaces, we can also show how other options or the act of not taking an action is actually more expensive. This is really effective in the health coaching or health and wellness space, where you can show the cost of, say, like all of these prescriptions or all of these traditional doctor visits versus this more holistic and natural option. Those are three of the most important things to remember when we are trying to increase our sales. We need to get into the minds of our ideal clients, walk a mile in their shoes, to wear their pants, to put their sweater on so that we can serve them and help them. And as a little bit of a soapbox moment, I want you to remember that we are in business to serve. We are here and we're building these beautiful brands and businesses so that we get to help people. We're not helping if we don't let people know what pain we solve for them, what pleasure we help them create, what transformation we help them create. Selling is serving. Selling is not some dirty word or dirty necessity. It is what we're in business to do. So if you want to help people, you need to learn how to effectively sell what you offer, and you need to offer something that people want to buy. I know that you can make an amazing income from your current genius skills story, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to do the work to shape that offer, to make sure that we're communicating in a way that people understand and that we are in fact selling something that people desire right now. Those desires might change over time, so this isn't a static thing that we figure out once and then we're done. The context shifts. People's financial situations change. There's always money going to be spent. We just have to figure out where it's being spent and where there's the least friction to receive that money so that we can help people. I hope you're inspired. I hope you go out there and you create content around each of these elements that we talked about today. And I hope that you sell more than you even think is possible. If you want support around this, I would love to invite you into my brand, Clarity Collective. We talk about topics like these in our monthly mentorship coaching calls, in the hub, the mastermind. That's all private to members only, and then also in all of the curriculum that you get access to. I want to see you get paid really, really well, and I would love to help you do that. And if you want even more ideas how to build more psychology and emotion into your brand, into the way that you sell, check out this next video. I'm gonna link it on the screen if you're on desktop, and then it's in description below if you're on mobile. Click like if you get something out, and I will see you in our next video.